Hello folks, Van Prepper here. I'm about to make a video that I promised myself before I signed up for YouTube I was not going to make. I watched a video this morning of a man who was walking his son on a 10-mile hike to get his Eagle Scout badge, and it was in the state of Texas, the great state of Texas, where your freedoms are still protected, unlike New York where I live, and it is legal to open carry. And he also had a legally concealed .45 handgun on his person. And he was stopped, and the police officer attempted to disarm him. And for no other reason than the police officer said that people were nervous or were fearful. And this video is a bit of a rant on not just our Second Amendment rights, but all our rights. Our rights are not given to us by the Constitution. The Constitution makes no guarantee that the Constitution doesn't say we give these rights to people. The Constitution says we simply acknowledge that these rights they exist, and that people are born with these rights, given these rights by their Creator. At the point of birth, I had the right to defend myself. If it is legal for me to carry concealed, if it is legal for me to open carry, it is not here in New York, but if it were legal for me to open carry here in New York, police officers need a better reason than they were nervous because I was doing something completely legal, therefore they stopped and detained me. I am not an anti-police officer person. I'm not. I think most police officers are good people. I have police officers in my family. I think they do their best. I think what we have here is a failure to properly train officers and a willingness by departments to continually cover up when officers make mistakes. I'm not saying fire every officer that stops somebody for the wrong reasons, but say to them, hey, listen, you know that you can't do that. You need a reason better than you were nervous. If the only reason you were nervous is that you have an irrational fear of citizens carrying and displaying a weapon the same way you do, and it's not illegal here, you don't have enough ground to detain somebody. It's very frustrating because I had an incident. My wife works, and I'm a stay-at-home dad, and everybody that my wife works with, you know, that are friends with her on Facebook, we have a joint Facebook account, knows that we have guns and that I like to shoot. You know, when I don't know about you guys, when I get something, I like to show people. When I go to the range, I like to show people, because there are a lot of people that are interested in how the day shooting went and other things like that. And what happened is that my wife was called in for a counseling session where she works because the people that she works with were afraid. I go in once a week with my kids. I take them in to have lunch with my wife so that they can see their mom one day a week. During the week, we have lunch together, and their reasoning was, I have guns. Why does everybody know I have guns? Why do I have to talk about it? Why would I tell anybody something like that? And because I have guns, they were afraid. They didn't know they don't know that I'm there to visit my wife. How do they know I'm not there to start shooting people? That is the stupidest thing in the world. My rights are not subject to your irrational fear. Not my Second Amendment rights, not my First Amendment rights, not my Fourth Amendment rights. You do not have a right. I should be comfortable and secure in my person and my possessions, and you should need a very good reason. The law says that officers of the law need a good reason, a reasonable suspicion to come and check what I have on my body, or to ask me questions, or to detain me. You know, sometimes people will look at those videos of people who refuse to comply with officers, and they'll say, well, you know, if he just showed him his ID, it would have been, well, I'm sure it would have been easier if he showed him his ID. The problem is there's no legal reason for him to show an officer his ID if he hasn't done anything wrong. We are being conditioned in this country to willingly give up our rights and to accept that it's normal and it's okay. We get stopped at traffic stops, you know, where there's just these mass checkpoints, and they have every right to, you know, have you swing through and roll down your window, and they can say, you know, I smell alcohol, I don't smell alcohol, whatever it is. But beyond that, unless you have a reason to suspect I have committed a crime and you think that can hold up in court, you have no right to ask me for identification or to detain me. And that's a right every one of us was born with, that we are not subject to harassment by our government officials at any level. We have a government that is out of control. If you think you live in a free country just because you have the right, the government is willing to let you get drunk and smoke weed all the time, you are living in fantasy land. Listen, in the communist countries, they're perfectly comfortable with everybody getting liquored up. It keeps people from realizing how rotten their everyday lives are. That isn't freedom. Freedom isn't your ability to say things that other people agree with. The right to free speech exists to say things people don't like. We had an incident in our town where we had neo-Nazis come to town about 15 years ago. I'm not a neo-Nazi. I don't sympathize with the neo-Nazis. I think they're idiots. But they have just as much right to come and say the stupid things they say as anybody else does. And the idea that we have a right, what happened was the crowd, ran and attacked them and beat them up. Well, how are you any different than the people that came spewing hate? Because you hate them just because of what they said or something that they have on their sleeve. Get a grip on yourself. If you attack people just because you disagree with them, you're no different than the people that you think hate you. That's ridiculous. We live in a free country, and a free country requires that we are free to do the things that we want to do, to pursue our own interests and our own happiness, as provided it doesn't hurt other people. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't offend other people or doesn't make people nervous. If other people are nervous because I have firearms, tough crap. I have a right to have firearms, and I haven't given you any reason to be nervous. Your nervousness comes simply from the fact that you don't know anything about firearms, and you don't know anything about the Constitution and Second Amendment or the rights that are outlined in those. If you are nervous about the fact that, you think that the NSA shouldn't be allowed to look at your emails, your phone calls, or anything else without a warrant, which is outlined in the Constitution, you're not alone. I'm nervous about that. That's a reasonable nervousness. Because what are they using this information for? Our rights are being taken away left and right. The government's trying to steer you into what types of cars to drive, how many miles a gallon they get. They tax you on everything. You don't own the property you're on. You pay rent on the property you're on. That's why you can have it paid off all you want, but you don't pay your property taxes, and they're going to come and take it from you. We do not live in a free country. Our freedom is threatened badly by government that is out of control, that thinks that our government exists. This two-party system is a fraud. It exists so that they can have us at war with each other, buying into class warfare or race warfare or all these different envies that we have of each other, instead of looking at the real problem. And the real problem is that we have a government that taxes the crap out of us and then bribes us with our own money. They tax us so that we can't afford to live without them handing us money, and then they say, oh look, we're just helping people out. Oh no, you took my money in the first place. If minimum wage didn't have the taxes attached to it that it did when you made minimum wage, people wouldn't need a raise in minimum wage. What they need is a lowering of the taxes that they pay. I'm sorry this was such a long rant, but and it kind of off the wall on a lot of things, but these are just things that really bother me. Let me know what you think. Let me know what experiences or ideas you guys have. And until the next video, I am Van Prepper. Happy shooting.